All right, gentlemen, welcome to the limelight. If you can, I'd love to just run through some quick introductions and share who you are and what you're about.
Yeah, awesome. I'm Nick Morton at Macy's CRM strategy, customer growth. What that means in a nutshell is sending all of our emails and mobile messaging out to all of our millions and millions of customers and trying to get that right personalized message to them at the right time. Working at a retailer like Macy's, a lot of internal conflict on what the most important message is. So putting the customer first, as well as also making sure internally we're doing the right thing.
Hey everybody, name's Rien Zabor. Current role, I'm the Director of Digital Marketing and Loyalty at Eddie Bauer. So I get the benefit of two worlds with paid media space, trying to attract new customers to the brand, and then on the loyalty side, trying to retain them, grow that lifetime value. So a lot of fun with it.
Awesome. Now, whenever I sit down with a pair of loyalty pros like yourself, I always love to start with this question. I want to know, how many loyalty programs do you think you're a part of today in your own life? And then of those, how many do you actually think you're truly loyal to in the full meaning of that word?
Yeah, I'll say, and we had prepped this question before, and still really don't have a number because it's a lot, right? So I feel like every single person has a loyalty program, and I've signed up for probably every single one, whether it's to get an offer or just it's easier to check out, right? That being said, I am probably loyal to less than 25% of that infinite number that I'm signed up for, really just because it's so easy to sign up, but I don't feel loyal to the company.
Honestly, it's higher than I would have expected. Ryan, I'm curious, what about you?
Oh, likewise. Well over dozens and dozens. And I mean, I think it's become ambiguous to the fact of loyalty programs are you sign up to get their emails or just to track your order history, but there's nothing too special to it. So honestly, there's probably 3 to 5 that I'm like truly loyal to, but hundreds that I'm signed up for.
Yeah. And I mean, if we go back even like 10, 15 years, right? Like loyalty programs were the new hot thing. They were breakthrough, they were innovative. And now everyone has one. I'm pretty sure your local bodega has a loyalty program that you can sign up for and accrue points on. So, how are you in your respective programs trying to drive those unique breakthrough moments that actually allow you to stand out for your guests? Ryan, can we start with you on that?
Of course, of course. So one of the benefits we find at Eddie Bauer is we're a legacy brand. We have been around for over 100 years, and we try and lean into that as much as possible. One of our founding products is the down jacket. Eddie Bauer was a true innovator in that. And so, nowadays you can go to any mall, any department store and find a down jacket. But what sets Eddie Bauer apart is that history of innovation and developing that first product. And I say all that because for loyalty, you need to lean into what makes you unique, what that story is for your brand, and find moments to share in that. So for us, we set up customer journeys of customers who may have not purchased a jacket from us before. So then we push them into this journey to introduce them to the history of Eddie Bauer and what he's created, and then introduce them to the new age technology that we have today.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head there with it, like leaning into what makes you unique, right? So Macy's, I'm sure everybody has been to a Macy's location at least once in their life, but I remember seeing Santa Claus at Macy's, or watching that parade that we have every year on Thanksgiving. So like lean into what you have, and that's really what's building the loyalty. Outside of the star money you might get at Macy's for making additional purchases, it's what's that emotional connection that you have that is really more important than the dollar value, the price point, even the product itself. It's what can you make special and just yours.
Let's dig a little bit into that authenticity lens, right? Do you think that there's a disconnect between our marketer perception of our loyalty programs and like how meaningful and rich it is, and how customers perceive it? And then how do you make sure that those are actually aligned?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard, right? Because at the end of the day, we're all marketers and we're all trying to drive sales. So that's, I think everybody's most important goal. But that being said, I think the customer is a lot smarter than sometimes we give them credit for, in the sense where they can feel like something is authentic or something is there to drive a sale, right? So we've had a very long-standing loyalty program at Macy's. It's called Star Rewards. If you're not signed up, there's my plug. But we have 30 million loyalty customers, and they make up 70% of our sales. So for something like us, and we're fortunate to be in that position, they know the value of it, and they also know why it's so important. So it's really, it takes time, it takes a lot of energy, but once you get to that point, that's really, really special in the sense that it feels authentic, whatever we're promoting and what we're talking about.
Rookie mistake, by the way, to not have a referral code when you did that plug.
Next time,
next time. We'll get a QR code set up.
Yes. Yeah, the one thing I'd add there too is, there's a rise in the importance of first party data. And I think as marketers, and I kind of mentioned this in the intro too, is we see a loyalty program as a way to capture that first party data, and you can call that a win. Hey, you've got their email address, you're building up that order history, and you're gathering that so you can send it off to your marketing channels as signals. But the customer expects a lot more than that. Not just to receive your marketing messages, but to be treated as a valued customer, because they could go anywhere. I mean, there's new brands popping up every single day. So you need to find those moments, utilize that data to treat them special. And that's part of our program. And a lot of loyalty programs, you have specific tiers for your customers as they continue to grow that value with you in that brand. And so you have to track that and then treat them certain ways of honoring the amount of time and the investment that they put in with your brand.
So let's embark on this customer journey. How are you acquiring guests? What are the tactics that you're deploying to try to bring them in, to entice, to get them to sign up? And then once they're in, how do you retain them? They've raised their hand. They said, cool, talk to me about the things that you have going on. What are the most impactful, meaningful ways you can re-engage them? Let's start on the acquisition end. Ryan, can you kind of take us through, because I know you manage some of the paid media end too, like what's the approach?
Yeah, I am kind of fortunate that I live in both those worlds of the acquisition in our paid media. And thankfully, a lot of these big legacy platforms such as Google are starting to roll out new programs and abilities to layer in your loyalty benefits and messaging. Not quite there. So really, it's utilizing your paid media to acquire and get that traffic to your site. But then it's all the more important for us to focus on that experience on site, to one, as soon as they land, encourage them to sign in and sign up for that loyalty program. So finding ways is to nudge them across that customer journey and that shopping experience. And while you're doing that too, is finding ways to reinforce the benefits of your program. So whether it's points that you could achieve on a certain purchase for a product based on that price point, or it's they're looking at their account history and you show them a bar of how many dollars you're away from the next tier. So it's going through that experience on your website and finding ways to continue to encourage the benefits of that program.
Kind of like an element of FOMO, if I'm reading right.
Yes,
yeah,
exactly.
Totally. And so then once they're in, Nick, how are you engaging them? How are you keeping them there? What's the sticky glue of your program?
Yeah, I mean, I think the buzzword there is personalization, right? So you want to make sure that you're relevant to the customer at the right time and the right place. So being a department store, we sell everything and anything. And I always use this example. I'm not a beauty shopper, right? So I shouldn't see beauty products. I should see suits. I should see home products. It's not as simple as that, right? Especially as we have consumers that shop in every single department that we have. We just want to be relevant at the right time. But even past that, it's explaining the why of you want to be in our email system, or you want to be opted in for push messages. So to give a concrete example there, this past holiday, we launched a new event. We called it the Parade of Deals. Very catchy, given that we do have that parade. But every day for 2 weeks leading up to the parade, there was a different daily deal that was eligible for 24 hours. You could see it on our homepage. You could see it on the website, of course. But if you were opted into mobile push messages, you saw it first. There was a reminder every single day of, hey, this is the daily deal. That's not something that necessarily has to deal with a discount. That's not necessarily something that really has to deal with price, even if it is this special 24-hour deal. It's that FOMO that you alluded to. It's, hey, you knew this first. You are so engaged with us, so loyal with us, that there's a channel here that we're not just telling you about discounts. We're telling you about something that you could miss out on if you're not on this channel.
Yeah, and so I love that you brought up personalization. I'm even guessing that example you just shared was a way in which of collecting data around preference, interest, and attraction. So what are the data points that you're most seeking after, and then how are you integrating those back into your programs, into your own channels to drive personalization?
Yeah, and a lot of that comes down to what customers are looking at, what customers are buying, and the frequency of it too. So, not to speak on your behalf, but I'm sure everybody would love to say, how can I make a customer purchase every single day for a year, right? We know that's not going to happen, but how do we increase, decrease the frequency around key events, around key market share holidays, things like that, where it makes sense to do so or makes sense to pull back. Nobody wants to be the spammy customer or the spammy company there were customers like, man, I am so tired of receiving emails or receiving push
Mm.
notifications, that we take all that data in and make sure we're communicating it to you the right way at the right time.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and it's kind of a blessing and curse as a retailer of building and creating products that are quality and that last. So you're not getting those purchases every day like we would all hope. Um, but it's understanding that customer life cycle and what does that purchase frequency look like and what should it be. So for us, along with our CDP partners, we can look at the loyalty status of our customers, layer in that purchase history, and understanding, breaking down product category, but then also seasonality, time of year that they're making these purchases. So we have customers that buy in the summer and they're buying our sportswear. And so then we set them along a journey to then introduce them to our outerwear when it comes winter time, because they're going to need something warm. And, flip flop that. We have customers that come to us in Q4 and they're buying the jackets, they're buying the gifts for their friends and family. So then we need to reintroduce them into a new series in the following summer and say, hey, we've got all the activewear you need to get outside. And so it's understanding how and when these customers are buying, layer in those loyalty benefits along the way.
I love that you brought up the customer journey end as well as some of like the recurring seasonality to it, because look, at the end of the day, customer loyalty isn't built overnight. In that first welcome email, it's not like, cool, now I've got you for life, right? There's this ongoing challenge of how do you build that affinity over time. So can you talk to me a little bit more about how you think about this in the short, mid, long term and the longitudinal nature of a loyalty program?
Yeah, that's a great question, and honestly, challenge I think is a really good word to frame it. I was speaking with some folks about this last night at our dinner. Is one of the things that customers expect from a loyalty program is consistency and delivering on a consistent basis, whether that's the quality of the products or it's the delivery of the products when you're shopping online or your experience in store. Um, Managing a loyalty program, I can influence a lot and speak to those people, but I don't day to day manage our store operations or our warehouse. But you have to ensure that your organization is bought into the mission of delivering for your customers when they expect it. So as many benefits as I can build into our loyalty program, if we are delivering packages late consistently, that's not a good look and those customers are going to be lost.
Yeah, and I think again, like really hitting the nail on the head there, not to use that phrase again, but it's the sense that you can put a loyalty program together online and you can list out 7, 8, 9, 10 different benefits. That's awesome. If you don't achieve them, it actually hurts you, right? So one, you don't want to overcommit. You want to make sure that it's still worth the customer being involved in loyalty, but at the same time, what can you deliver across every channel, right? So having a big brick and mortar presence, you want to make sure like, hey, like the loyalty is coming through online as it is in store. And, everything with that, whether it's the product delivery, the product assortment, what we're showing you, what you're seeing, you want it to just be a consistent experience where you're never frustrated with it and you're really enjoying the shopping nature and then hopefully making that conversion.
Yeah, no, I think unless you're on an offset calendar, everyone in this room is probably gearing up for their Q1 QBRs. So when we talk about loyalty programs in a longitudinal nature, right? Like the long-term approach, do you find that you struggle at all with getting stakeholder buy-in to that longer term view, or is there good consensus already that hey, these things don't happen overnight?
Yeah, I mean, I can speak for us, and like I said, a very robust program already. So lucky for me that we do have that buy-in across the board. We have built out some different customer lifetime value models to really tie a KPI to it, which is great. But past that, we're all, even though we're marketers, we're all consumers too. So I think we really just have to put ourselves in the customer's shoes as well and say, what's important to me? Like what makes a loyalty program work for me? And that's really how we try to frame everything. Instead of being, company led, we're customer led and really trying to pivot it that way.
Yeah, I'll build on that too. And you mentioned the vastness of your loyalty program. We're thankful that on any given day, and even looking back to our fiscal 24, 80% of our orders overall came from a loyalty member. So you can always lean on that to say there's a ton of value here and we need to invest in it. But it becomes more than that. When I'm working with our product teams on site personalization, and I need to justify it, I can look at, let's say we want to build in an aspect on the site that encourages you to spend more so you can get to the next tier. To justify that, we look at the lifetime value of our customers broken out by the tiers that they're in. And you can quantify and see that once they move from our basic tier, the adventure tier, to our next up, or even the highest tier, that lifetime value increases, that AOV increases, the frequency increases. And so you can look at those, and that helps reinforce your argument for those technology investments.
The adventurer tier. I want to be a part of that. Goodness.
You'll want to get to the guide status. That's the high level.
Oh, so. Got it. All right. Rookie me. I need to go through that welcome journey to really be educated. All right. So, Nick, you're a former data guy and probably still are to your core, former dashboarder, as I understand it. Can we truly quantify loyalty? What are the KPIs that you're looking at? Is it lifetime value, to your point, Ryan? Like what do you centralize your measurement around?
Yeah, there's a couple. There's customer lifetime value. There's frequency of purchase. It's not crazy KPIs. They're probably KPIs we look at every single day, but you're just tying that to a segment, right? So, not sure we have as crazy cool names that you have with the adventure and the guides, but ours is bronze, silver, gold, and platinum. But we tie it to those segments, right?
Precious metals,
exactly, right? So, and I'll help you out. You want to be platinum, so
okay, yeah. No, thank you. I'm taking notes.
Yeah, exactly. So, but with that, we look at the different tiers. We look at their frequency. We look at what their AOV is, how often they're purchasing, things along those lines. Really, nothing groundbreaking, but we know, hey, a platinum customer is X% more valuable than a gold, which is X% more valuable than a silver. And how do we nurture customers to want to become a platinum member? And that's not just because we want them to spend more, but there's benefits to platinum, and explaining those to them and making it really part of their lifestyle and their journey as they shop with us at Macy's.
Yeah. Again, we look at it also, all those same KPIs, but foundationally, is the loyalty program worth it? We still get that question, even though you see 80% of orders come from loyalty members. And so one way that we are starting at Eddie Bauer to look at this, and thankfully some of our counterparts at the Brooks Brothers team have looked at it, is again, looking at the customer journey. When a customer is buying, let's say, sportswear, an active t-shirt in the middle of summer, we can take a look at those customers who bought and signed up for the loyalty program and the customers who bought who did not. Follow them along that journey and understand what is their purchase frequency afterwards. When's that next purchase? Are they then buying into other categories? And for that team, they've seen a 24% incremental growth from the customers who signed up for loyalty versus the ones that didn't. So it's finding opportunities to, again, show the value of the overall program. But like you said, Nick, it's also digging into those tier specific values too.
Now, I think every program, no matter how great or robust or matured, goes through a period of stagnation. How do you identify when it's time to shake things up a little bit? How do you recognize, like, hey, maybe we need to make a small tweak, or it actually be like a total overhaul of your program? What are those key indicators, and then how do you think it through?
For me, it's regular communication across our organization. I say that because loyalty programs are truly omni-channel. I know we talked a lot about omni-channel yesterday, but it's talking to our customer service team. It's talking to our store ops team and understanding what's the feedback you're getting from customers. It could be even one single customer that you hear from. You need to dig into those details and what made their experience not so great. And that could ultimately uncover a larger issue that you're completely unaware of. And so regular communication helps you stay on top of any changes, whether they're small tweaks or foundational changes in the data that you're running off of. That's a big part of it too. But looking at our campaigns and the benefits that we put out there, it's regularly looking year over year, month over month, event over event. What is the engagement with that? You can take a $20 certificate that we put out there. Do we see the same redemption rates we do today that we did 2 years ago? Probably not. And so we need to figure out, do we need to increase those denominations to get a higher redemption rate now?
Yeah, and it's really meeting the customer where they want to be, right? So we can sit here and we can ideate over and over and over again on what a perfect loyalty program might be, but it's really what the customer wants to see. And we have to put them at the forefront of every decision we make. While this isn't necessarily overhauling loyalty, we've seen the rise of apps and shopping on mobile phones, right? So how do we, educate and nurture and try to drive customers to download our app and opt into push notifications or opt into SMS or really use every channel we have at our disposal to meet the customer where they want. It's funny. My grandmother, great Macy shopper, and always has been. I think she's extra now because she wants to support me, which is great. But she is not the most tech savvy. Hope she's not watching. But she's an email shopper, right? There's no need for me to tell her to download the app because it's just not going to work for her. Myself, I like to shop off my phone. I never want to open a laptop and do that. How do I get myself to be on the app and use that more? So it's not just loyalty, but it's like personalized loyalty. Doesn't necessarily mean it's a discount or a tier or a benefit, but just how are we communicating to them the right way?
Is Grandma a platinum member?
Grandma is a big platinum member.
There we go. There we go.
She
All right.
is.
Someone we can aspire to be.
Exactly.
All right. I feel like I'm going to regret asking this question, but you two are so passionate in the space. And there's a lot of folks in this room that are not deep in the weeds on CRM and loyalty and personalization like you both are. Is there something that you're super focused on right now that everyone in this room should care about, even though they don't know right now that they need to care about it? Nick, we'll start with you on that.
Yeah, I can take this one, and this one is a very technical, nerdy thing that I'm focused on right now. But iOS 18.2 is just quite the challenge that email marketers are facing right now. So for those of you that have an iPhone and you use the native Apple Mail app, it is quite the change. So there's different tabs now. They're grouping the way that viewers are that senders are seeing. It's just a very complex thing that we're trying to navigate, and it really makes every email have to work harder and smarter. It is just launched. We're about 3 months into the 6-month, trend of this being at full scale. So something we're looking to do every day.
So everyone in this room, write to your senators, iOS 18.3.2.
Please, yes.
Roll it back.
Yep, and that would be great. Yes.
For me, it's I guess you can consider not the most fun part of it, but I find foundationally really important. It's how is our customer data being communicated across platforms, from our order management system to our CDP and then downstream to our email. It's understanding that data flow and trying to close as many loopholes as possible. That's the difference between a customer having their name personalized in the email or just saying valued customer. It's also the difference when they contact customer service and they can recognize your tier status and how many points and how many purchases you've made so that they can, communicate and show appreciation for that lifetime of investment in the brand. It's those little moments of having that data accuracy at your fingertips for all of those touch points makes a huge deal. But it's something that's not as fun as a new marketing campaign, but it's something I'm passionate about and try to clean up as much as possible.
Retail is detail, 100%, 100%. All right, final question for you both, a little bit forward facing. What do you expect the retail loyalty programs to look like, call it 4 or 5 years from now? What's the evolution if you had to guess?
Yeah, so a lot like how your grandmother's a big Macy's fan, my dad is a big Eddie Bauer fan. He likes to think he's very tech savvy, but not all the time. But there's one thing he's always talked about is when I log into eddiebauer.com, I'd love, I'm buying the same pair of pants in the same size because I love them and you're coming out with new colors. So I would love to log in, have it pre-selected for you. I mean, we talk about these, shopping assistants. I think that's where loyalty programs are going to eventually get to, is continue on that personalization journey of not just finding points and benefits for you as a customer, but making that shopping trip a lot easier. Amazon does a great job of making the whole transaction a one-click thing. It's our own way of trying to find that and encouraging you, hey, we know what you're buying, we know what you're interested in, let's serve it up to you as quickly as possible.
Totally. Now, and is he a guide? Is he guide status?
Oh, yes.
All right, so we get guide and platinum. There we go.
Yeah, and we'll come back next year and see what statuses you're at now that you've learned everything.
So terrified.
I know, right? But yeah, I think even past and this is really just tying to what you said, but it's personalized loyalty and kind of two-way communication. Not sure where this will ever go, but right, some people find one benefit more important than another. Is there a time where loyalty programs start to become personalized to you rather than just saying this is the list of benefits that every single customer receives? Don't quite know how that would work, but we have 5 years to figure that out, and we'll see what happens.
No, that's actually really interesting. That's got the gears turning. Very cool. All right, well, thank you both. What questions do we have from the crowd for Ryan and Nick?
Hey there, I'm Jessica Edwards with Albertsons Companies. Maybe this question is more for Ryan. Just curious, because you work in both the loyalty channels and the paid media. We get the question about driving engagement. So I sit more on the paid media side, and I often think, well, we should let our own channels drive that engagement with our loyalty program. People clipping coupons, redeeming rewards, what have you. But there is an ask to push some of our paid media spend on that, and and just curious from your perspective, paid media for acquisition versus engagement. How do you guys use that? Do you see any success?
That's a great question. It brings back a project I had, and I was asked about a year and a half ago. Our CEO came to me and said, hey, we have a marketing budget that we see as an expense. We also have a loyalty budget, and we put out reward certificates that's an expense to the business. We need to limit our expenses as much as possible. So I was tasked with, you need to exclude loyalty members who are getting these rewards, an expense, from your ad spend so that you're not kind of double dipping in that expense on those customers. We did that. We saw a decline in traffic in our paid media channels because all of the big brands, Meta, Google, they tell you put in as much data as possible. And so when you start limiting that, you're going to see a decline in traffic. And that's what we saw. We didn't necessarily see much of a decline in the redemption of our loyalty program, but we saw a decline in paid media. As soon as we took away that suppression, traffic went back up, and we did see a slight increase in our redemptions and loyalty. So it kind of reinforced the message of, just because the loyalty member is engaged with your CRM doesn't necessarily mean they don't need that extra nudge from paid search ad or a Facebook ad. It has become important, and the unfortunate reality of that is you are spending a bit more on that customer, but it is keeping them engaged and keeping them coming back.
Thank you. Hi, I'm Sarah, and I'm with PetSmart. Ryan, building off of that question, so when you were doing the suppression, do you have your loyalty audiences broken out into their own campaigns? And if you do, are you looking at them as more of like a one-time ROAS for bidding and actually optimizing, or are you looking at them from more of a lifetime value?
That's a good question. Honestly, the best way to describe how we use our loyalty audience in paid media is they are our best customers. And so we're building lookalike audiences off of them all the time. So it's digging deeper, not necessarily into the tier specifics that we would for our CRM channels, but it's more so, again, looking at the categories that they're buying, and then maybe looking at the tier level. So our guide status, they're buying a lot and they're invested in our outerwear. So we're going to use them as the basis to create our lookalike audience for our outerwear campaigns. That's sort of the best way we've been able to define and use it.
We got another one. Hang on.
Hi, Valerie Neiman-Marcus. Curious about what plans you have, if any, to incorporate AI into your personalization.
Yeah, that's a big buzzword right now, and it's a hot topic, right, in terms of what we want to do. And I think we're trying to figure out how to use AI the right way. You talk to really smart people about AI, and they say let it run its course, let it figure it out, and let the customer and the AI data really get you there. I think the challenge with that is it might get you off brand voice a little bit. So there's still, you have to have your finger on the lever a little bit so that you can use both. But it's definitely top of mind for us to figure out how we can utilize it more and more in an effective way.
Yeah, I'd just add one thing. I think for us, one of the immediate use cases is within customer service and implementing chatbots and those types of tools. Gets back to what I said about ensuring that the data is very quality and it's consistent. Then you can start to feed those AI chatbots to ensure, kind of to your point, Nick, about brand voice and talking to your customer, they have the right data set that they can continue to personalize that experience from there.
Getting your steps in, John.
Can you guys move over here? Ha. All right, first Jeff, and then this young lady behind you. Jeff.
Thanks. Jeff Alderman from AdCom. Question for you. So you're both part of legacy companies, a family of brands as well. Just kind of curious, do you also have the lens to look across the whole family portfolio of brands when you're making decisions and looking at things like lifetime value, customers as well?
I could take that one first. Yeah, so Eddie Bauer, our corporate structure, we have a lot of sister brands. I've mentioned Brooks Brothers, and I'm getting more involved there. Very different customer, very different purchase behaviors, AOVs. All that is completely different. And so honestly, they're reshaping their loyalty program that is to a degree vastly different than ours, and it's because of that purchasing behavior, but it makes sense for them. And so we can kind of bounce ideas off of each other and understand, well, if our AOVs are around $80 to $100, hopefully theirs are 300 plus. That kind of tailors your benefits as a loyalty program pretty significantly. So yes, it's been wonderful working cross brand and learning from each other.
Yeah, and Macy's Inc., for those not aware, we have Macy's, Bloomingdale's, and then Blue Mercury as well. So same idea with us being able to cross collaborate. It's a really easy way for us to naturally and organically talk to our partners at Bloomingdale's and say, what did you try? Did this work? Did this not work? And of course, there's price point differences or customer differences, but it's still trying to find what they've done that we can tailor to us. So it's a really strong opportunity that we have to be able to communicate cross.
We got one more.
You guys have had so many questions. Hi, I'm Annie from Wayfair. My question is similar to Jessica's, actually. So when we think about growing the loyalty program, you mentioned you had a lot of good advice on on-site and articulating the value on-site at different stages. What about off-site? Like, what about paid marketing? Do you have paid digital marketing campaigns that are goaled towards specifically growing the loyalty program and getting new signups? Or are those more focused on, just orders and ROAS?
Yeah, I'd say it's more of the latter for us. Again, we do lean heavily on CRM to try and nurture those loyalty members while in utilizing paid media and search and social to gather new and then try and get those signups. It kind of goes beyond the marketing channels after that, is just nurturing them to grow that lifetime value. So we don't necessarily build that into our strategy of how we bid in those channels, as long as we know that we are reaching and gathering qualified audiences that are making those purchases, are signing up and becoming members.
And I can add on there too with the brick and mortar nature of Macy's. Like, it's communicating with our store colleagues the importance of loyalty so that they can then communicate to a customer that isn't online or might not be online at that time why they should join the loyalty program and the benefits of it. Can also use signage throughout the store and just other like legacy media like that. But it's the benefit of both digital and in store that we can utilize.
All right. Well, Nick, Ryan, thank you so much for the insights.
Thank you.